So just a reminder to everyone on the meeting that this meeting is being recorded. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Moving forward, we are looking for an opening of the meeting. Can I get a approval to open the meeting?
Yes.
Excellent. Approval of the minutes. We don't have minutes this time because we haven't had a quorum for quite a few meetings, so there are no minutes to review. That's correct, Liz?
Yes.
Thank you. Invoice review, Sean.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. Where am I sharing screen? 2. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Very good. So invoices this month are standard. SMMA finishing out their CA billing. PMA, a monthly bill from us plus some subcontractors, and then Brait with their bill from the month of October, totaling just under $650K.
Okay, any questions?
No.
I have a motion to accept.
Yes.
Yeah.
All in favor? Do we have, Rich, do we need to do a roll call?
We don't even need to this is just a review. We don't have to
don't need to vote
on
it.
this. Yep.
Got it. So we don't need to vote it.
Nope.
Got it. Next item on the agenda is change order review. I have a few things. I don't know if Sean, would you like to start?
Dr. Khan, why don't you take it? Here's what I have. If there's anything in addition to this, then we can go from there.
Okay. The additional cameras, it's been requested by the SROs that we add some cameras. I believe it's field view that they're looking for, back end of the building that they're looking for. The pricing is $23,500. I believe Sean has checked this with the architects who do this stuff, and that pricing is in line. The additional music reinforcement, what's happening there is there are 2 music rooms in the Phelps, as you know. And for some reason, when we went through the process, the music department gave mixed signals to the architects and everyone, and we didn't order a basic system that allows them to like play music throughout the room. They have one speaker, but if they can't do stereo music and they can't connect to devices and so on and so forth. So they need, I think what I'm asking for is to vote up to $8,000 to get this done for both rooms. We think it's going to be closer to 5, maybe 6 at the most, but it's very short money, and it is very much needed in both of those rooms. We'll most likely go with something that's portable, like a Bose or an Apple system that's very portable, because they may want to be able to move these things around, but that's what that 8,000 is. The additional turf field sweeper, I just hung up with Peter Parks, and it's a thing. It's called a litter cat box, and it's been used successfully in some other towns, but specifically Weymouth has used it with great success. And they found in Weymouth they have 2 fields that are the size of ours. One of them had access to this piece of equipment, and the other did not. And the one that has had access has done much better and is looking like it's going to have a much longer life. So I highly recommend we support this. This is my 2 cents, that we support the purchase of this turf field sweeper, and that is up to $10,000. The price that I've been given is $8,900. So again, just asking the committee to vote up to $10,000. And then the baseball field netting. This is a little hairier. We may need to table this. Mark, you know more about this than I do, but I believe that the footings issue could make this a much bigger project than we're prepared to fully discuss tonight. Because the netting that we're looking at here, almost 24,000, that keeps the baseballs from flying into the soccer stadium, I believe. But it does not include the footings, and that could be a really big kettle of fish. So, Mark, unless you have something substantial to share on that, I'm thinking we may want to table that 23-7 until the next meeting, but at least this way it's on the committee's radar. Any thoughts, Mark?
The only thing I'd like to add is I did contact Dave Taylor, and he has a town vendor or town contractor that's on the register there that we could use that would save us not just money, but is save us as far as using the right contractor. And so that's a positive.
Okay. And are you talking about a contractor that would do the netting or just the footings?
Just the footings.
Okay. So, because I'm assuming there's some engineering work that goes into that. They need to know what's underneath and the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea what's there. I'm Sean knows, I know, but this particular footing isn't as elaborate as the ones that they did for the taller sections. They were much more involved. So these footings aren't that crazy.
Okay.
So that's another positive.
Okay. So my sort of blanket recommendation to start the discussion anyway for tonight would be to ask the committee to consider a motion that would do the 23.5 for the cameras, the 8,000 up to 8,000 for the music, and up to 10,000 for the turf field sweeper. But I'd hold off on the field netting until the next meeting so that we can get the footings thing nailed down, because that just to me has the potential to be until we get solid numbers on how much the footings are going to be. I don't want to ask the committee to move forward before we have that information. Any thoughts or questions from the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and so
Second.
your motion to approve is for the 23.5, the 8,000, and the 10,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a second. Now, do we have any discussion?
There was a second. Julie seconded.
No, I understand, but following the second, that's when you have discussion, or we don't have discussion, right?
We're good.
Yeah, Alan, this is Doug. I would just say I agree with all three of these things. You know, if the SROs are recommending more cameras, that's obviously critical. And then the music reinforcement and maintenance for the turf field, this to me seems like all no-brainers. So I'm in support.
Thank you.
I'm fully in support as well.
Okay. All right, let's vote then. All in favor? Do we, Rich, do I need to do a roll call vote on this?
Yeah, I think so. Where it's a Zoom, you're better off doing a roll call.
Thank you. Christine?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So did I miss anyone? I'm sorry if I did.
I'm a yes, Alan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Chris, I'm sorry I missed you. Chris, are you a yes?
Yes.
You didn't call my name either.
Julie, sorry.
Yes.
I'm a yes too.
And Jared, good. Okay, thank you. So we're good on that. Next on the agenda, project update. Sean?
All right. So our parking lot striping was completed. The demo of Jefferson is complete. Softball fencing and repairs to that have been done. The loudspeakers are up and sport benches have been installed. Our work to complete is there's a water line that was temporarily taken offline that runs through the Jefferson site. That needs to be reconnected. Then the Jefferson area will be loamed and seeded. And then we have punch lists to do. So the contractor already knows that they're going to have to come back in the spring and reseed Jefferson because it's way too late in the season, but they want to put down some seed and some tackifier that will hold the soils together through the winter so it just doesn't turn into a big mud pit. And then they'll come back in the spring and rehydroseed that, and then that'll get turned over to the Parks Department.
Good.
Excellent. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Sean. Next step, Sean.
Oh, I think I have my financial update in here. All right. So I think that's under project update. So financial update, I'll just run through this while we're here. We have a total project budget still of 86.6 million. Our current value encumbered and contracted is 72.7. We've received 71.15 million to date. And that includes the $650,000 that we have for this period. Our MSBA reimbursement is still 32.49 million. That will stay capped until closeout. So I wouldn't expect any more payments from the MSBA, probably for another 18 months to 2 years, because that we have to close out the job, and then it takes them usually about that amount of time to get everything through their audit and cut the final check. All right. Our next steps, the one thing that we did talk a little bit about is MSBA closeout. There is that DCAM notification, believe, that are still in Allen, and I think one might be in James Court. So if you haven't been able to find those emails, please let me know, and I'll try to figure out how to get DCAM to reissue them to you. And other than that, PMA will start putting together all of this stuff. We did have our commissioning 10-month walkthrough. And then the rest of it, I believe the rest of it, we should be all set. Or at least close enough that we haven't made final payment yet. There's still some work to be done. We're not paying until all the punch lists are complete, but we can get ourselves in good shape to be ready to go once the building is 100% complete and the punch list is closed out.
Thank you. Any questions for Sean?
Sean, this is Doug. If you had to guess, when do you think all the punch list items would be complete? Like roughly?
I would say most of them will be done and closed out probably by the end of the year. There are going to be some that are going to linger likely to the spring just because of the spring planting season. There are exterior items that may require warmer weather to complete. So I would suspect that the bulk of the work is going to be complete. They're going to take a break for a couple of months and then remobilize and finish up anything outside of the building that can't be done in the winter months.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Sean? Okay. Moving on. Just one thing. I'm sorry. One thing
that yep. I'm sorry. Go. Yep. I'm all set.
One thing that should have been discussed, I guess, during the overage discussion. One thing that I don't think we're ready to move on, but that we have been talking about, a number of us on the committee has been the idea of purchasing a snack shack for the field. I think one thing that's really important to Rich, I don't want to speak for you, Rich, but jump in, is that everyone understands that if the snack shack is purchased, it's going to be overseen and operated by the Parks Department. It would most likely be shared between, soccer and lacrosse for as far as town leagues go. But what we're thinking is, instead of doing something super duper elaborate, and there would be no plumbing, there would just be electrical. So that would limit what they could sell. But we're thinking some sort of a prefab, like a nice quality, maybe a Ferry shed or whatever the good quality sheds are. But we get a nice looking, because it will be right in front of the stadium. We don't want it to be, a really cheap one. But we're thinking we go in that direction. But we don't have any pricing. But I did want to plant the seed for the committee to be thinking about that if anyone has any super concerns about it. But it is something that a number of the members have expressed as something that we should take on at this point. I'm not thinking that we're talking about a whole lot of money. Again, we're not looking at hiring an architect and getting drawings and things like that. And we're not asking to add plumbing, but it's already plumbed for electrical. So we're thinking maybe we drop a really nice shed right there and make it the snack shack. So I wanted to throw that out. Just food for thought. I don't know if anyone had any questions or thoughts on that.
So and Alan, we've talked about this. I just want to make sure that we're clear on this. Is if this does end up going through the project, once it's done, it gets turned over to the Parks Department. Has nothing to do with the building committee, and then each organization would have to negotiate with the Parks Department on its use and how it's used, who's responsible for it, how there's access, and the board of park commissioners would have full authority on its use or not use, depending on what they work with each organization. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear that if it gets done as part of the project, it is a Parks Department building and they have total control over it.
I have spoken to Rich Furlong. He's been very positive about it for what, I know he's got a whole committee to answer to and all that. So, but he does know that we're thinking about it.
Yeah. And I've talked to all three of them. I've talked to Peter. The challenge becomes, and this was something that they'd have to work out, particularly on weekends, how do they devise who's using it, who's responsible, and how do you have access, because it's a department of three people. And that's Peter's concern, because Peter's going to be the one who actually has to manage it. So it's just, I'm sure it can all be worked out, but I just want to make sure that everyone's clear. The building committee wouldn't have anything to do with it other than, agreeing to have it or voting to have it put in. And then it's up to each organization that would use that field and working directly with the park commissioners on determining if they can use it and how they go about doing it.
I'm just curious, where would it be located, like physically on the site?
So Doug, when you drive up to the field, if you park in the parking lot, there's a concrete slab that's been placed where it would go. And it's just to the left of the entrance to the field.
Yeah, I know where the slab is. Okay, so that's where I wondered what that was
right
for.
on the slab. Yeah, right on the slab.
Okay. I got it.
I got a concern. So you put a shed there, right? It better look decent. I mean, the sheds in the past have been a disaster. That we got rid of all that barrel bollards that were crooked and sheds that were put together by nice people, but they just didn't happen. It has to be something decent. I mean, I don't want to see a shed there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Oh, nice. Yeah, should be nice.
It has to be something decent we like. That's my biggest thing. I want to ruin that whole area with a shed.
Right.
But that's whatever.
So both Reed's Ferry and Chapin make sheds that are really kind of designed to do this. And there's different exterior materials, and one of which is I know they do a vinyl siding on one, and I also think that they do what's almost like the cement board type siding. So there are some materials out there that would last a long time and low maintenance. So if we were going to do something, I think we really would, to Alan's point, look at what it's gonna, what's gonna be there, what's gonna last a long time, and what's gonna be as low maintenance as possible.
Yeah. So we'll try to get some things together for the committee to consider for next meeting. Does that sound like a plan?
That's great. I just want to thank you guys for your efforts in looking into this, and that sounds like a great plan.
My only concern would be without any water. How are they going to keep that clean? And if you've got multiple different entities working in there at different times, it's going to be who did what and who didn't clean up what.
So Julie, that's why I was saying it's going to be the park commissioners and the park department that will oversee that. Okay. And they'll have to come to agreements with each organization. There's no other. So whether it's soccer, whether it's Little League, softball, none of them have water. They all have electric. So they're limited in what their offerings are, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll have to be monitored, and the agreement will have to be between the organization and Parks Department on what could be kept there, who keeps it clean, who's responsible for it.
Gotcha. Thank you, Rich.
Okay. Any other anticipated new business? Okay, moving on. What's last? I think that would be to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second.
Jane, any discussion?
No.
So my only
Okay.
discussion is this has gone very smooth. I think Alan runs the rest of the meetings.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm like the honorary chair for every committee I'm on because I have the record for the fastest meetings.
I appreciate it.
Keep it moving. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Good night.
Merry Christmas.